Hello people of YouTube, my name is Brad. This is my channel, Animate Orange, and welcome to another Metal Earth build video. Today we're going to put together this 32 Ford Coupe right here. As you can see, it's a little bit hot rodded up. Got the supercharger sticking out of the hood, little wheels on the front, bigger wheels on the back, and those look like either 5-spoke American racing rims or Craig rims. Not that that's important. Also looks like it's got a pretty big rear end right here. Again, not important right now. We are going to build this model today. We're going to open it up, go over to the table, open it up, see what's inside, and start putting this model together. Let's open up what I'm hoping will be my favorite of the Ford models. This is the 1932 Ford Coupe, complete with supercharger, apparently. Let's open this up, see what we're in for. Inside we have little things. We have tiny little sheet. We have one normal sized sheet, color mostly on the one side. We have another normal sized sheet, and this one appears to be just a solid reddish color. That's kind of pretty. Put all that to the side, and we have our usual 2 pieces of paper for instructions. I am going to grab, hold on, something fell over and I didn't notice. I'm going to grab the sheet that has the Metal Earth logo up top, open it up, and try to briefly go over the directions. For those of you who are new to Metal Earth, maybe saw this in the store and thought this is really cool, I want to build it. Oh, come on, cooperate with me. There we go. Open it up to page 1 right here. Top of the page you have the Metal Earth logo, line drawing of the model sitting on one of the sheets. We have a 360 view with both the QR code and just the flat out web address. You can either type this in or scan that QR code. It'll take you to a website where you can see a 360 view of the completed model. I believe that's up. I have to go double check. And then below that we have metal sheets. We've got 3 of them here. I'm going to grab one as an example. I think I'm grabbing this one. I'm going to grab sheet B, it turns out. Try to orient it in the same way. Nope. This one, here we go. If it's not lining up with the things in the picture, flip it over and see if it lines up that way. But this is sheet B, just to give you an example. They basically have the different sheets lined up, numbered, all labeled and numbered. That's the word I was looking for, not lined up, but labeled and numbered. You've got sheet A, sheet B, and sheet C. As you can see here, this matches this. All the part numbers are listed, pointing at the part, so that you can find the parts during the build. You'll also notice that there are a few things that are colored in, while most of the stuff is not. The things that are colored in are duplicate parts. We're dealing with a car here. It's going to have 4 wheels. You're going to have 4 wheel parts. You're going to have symmetry on both sides, so there's definitely going to be duplicate of parts. To keep from just overcrowding things with numbers and things getting lost, what they started doing is coloring in the like parts. So for instance, here we've got 25 pointing at this blue strip. Right beside it's another blue strip. Those are both the same part, probably the back wheels. Green here, this green strip here is 42. There's another green strip over here that's also 42. So I like that they do that. I loved it when they started doing that. It makes things a lot easier to find, or makes it a lot easier to find duplicate parts. Anyway, moving over to page 2, we have sort of a legend up here. We have a sample part with a notation on insertion holes, insertion tabs, and fold lines. Insertion tabs ultimately go into insertion holes somewhere. Twist and fold the tabs to secure things. Fold lines are pre-scored areas where things are folded or curved, depending on the situation. Over here we have several different things. We have an E and kind of a bubble. That's usually pointing at an engraved side or section or painted. NE is usually points, or it's supposed to point at a non-engraved side or colored section. And sometimes it will look like there's engraving, but the engraving is actually fold lines, so try not to get those confused. Attention point, usually when you see a little hand pointing at something, it's trying to tell you to make sure something lines up a particular way. Oftentimes it's telling this, this piece over here sticking out needs to line up with this piece over here sticking out, because you can possibly put it together this way and nothing's going to line up and work properly after that. And below that's an assembly tip. If needed, slightly twist tabs to hold parts together, then untwist and bend them down for a nice finish. Something that I've recommended plenty of times. If we get into a situation like that, I'll try to comment on it. And beside that is recommended tools. We'll talk about tools here in a moment. Below that, we start the assembly flowchart, starting of course with part 1, which is labeled A1, so you would look on sheet A for that part. Here's the part. These red areas indicate things that are being shaped and folded, although this is kind of a combination of stuff. You see the blue arrow is showing this thing needs to be wrapped around, but also this part needs to be bent in. That's kind of confusing the way that they did that, because usually it's coloring in all the parts that are folded, and they've got kind of a combo thing here. But it's a mix of folding the parts over and bending that part in. And then over here there's a curve with very lightly orange or reddish orange highlight showing that end tail piece is kind of curved around. And then over here showing, I guess, another flap of being folded over, and you end up with that part. That's not a very great way to start off the explanation. Then over here we have part C2 and A3. So part 2 would be found on sheet C, part 3 would be found on sheet A. And these are sort of sub-assemblies. So it's showing that part 2 has the sides folded down. Part 3 also has the sides folded down. And then you come over here and these two come together with a folded in tab. You see the blue circle there. You end up with that, and this is probably folded in because if you twisted the tabs they would stick out too far and this piece would not be able to sit flat where it needs to go later. And that's kind of the gist of it. You follow through, finding the parts, doing the shaping and the sub-assemblies and bringing things together. Just follow the arrows and work through. Of course, once you get down to the bottom of the page, of page 2, you flip over, find page 3, keep going, page 4, keep going. And then you would grab the other sheet, open it up, find page 5, continue on until you're at the end and finished with your model. Let's take a moment to talk about some tools. And I've got what I consider the basic set in front of me, starting with a pair of flush clippers or side clippers. These are primarily used to cut the parts out of the sheets. You can get the parts out by folding and twisting, though you run the risk of breaking something you didn't mean to break. A good pointed set of side cutters or flush cutters like this Play-Doh set that I've got here work really great for quickly getting the parts out so you can get on with your build. I have, of course, a small selection of tweezers. We've got a fairly basic set. This actually came with one of the older Iconics sets, and I've been using it for quite a while. But a good sturdy flat end tweezers can come in really handy for doing a great number of things. I also have a few pieces from a precision set of tweezers. If you need some precision tweezers, just search precision tweezers online. You'll be able to find something out there. These two are very similar. They have a very fine point, though I did grind the tip of these down to help me grab tabs. And then this is just kind of a flat set for getting in tight spaces. And then we have a couple of pieces left over from the Fascinations 3-piece set. I broke the clippers long ago, so I had to replace them. But we have long nose pliers and flat nose pliers. Really handy. These are handy for bending long parts, and these are handy for bending short sections right here. But this is the basic set. We'll do a great amount of things with just this set right here. You'll be able to build a lot of different models and do a lot of different things. When it comes to shaping curved, domed, or rounded kind of parts, I like to have some sort of tool to mold things around, and I've designed some 3D printable tools for use in that. You might see me using in the video. I've got some cone shaping tools. I have a little block here for rounding stuff. I have larger cone shape combo tools, and even a little tool for shaping dome shapes. However, you can just look around the house and find parts, dowel rods, pencils, beads, paint brushes, pens, things like that can also be used to shape stuff as well. As for the 3D printed parts, I do sometimes print up extras and sell them on Etsy. Or you can just get the STL files if you have a 3D printer yourself and print these out. I'll try to include links to both the STL files and the Etsy store in the description down below. Every now and then I'll pull out something from my sculpting set. I found a sculpting set of tools, something like 10 or 11 pieces on Amazon. This is just a few of them. The hooks come in very handy sometimes for manipulating tabs into slots in tight areas, and also these pieces can come in handy for reaching in and shaping things, and sometimes reaching in and bending over tabs with the edge. So we've talked about the tools that I'll be using during this project. We've gone over the instructions ever so briefly, got the instructions and metal sheets and some basic tools to get me started. I'm going to organize things and let's get started putting this model together. From the start, part 1, we have a bit of an awkward part to shape. It's not hard to shape, just odd. I feel it's a sign of things to come. With part 2, the sides are a bit stiff to fold up, kind of like the edges on the wheel on the 37 Ford pickup. I am finding that some of the tabs are fitting rather tightly in their slots. It took some extra coaxing to get these sides bits to bend over correctly. I used a cone shaping tool to shape part 8 and it didn't really do me any favors. I had to go back and readjust it. Here we have another awkward piece to shape with part 10. In my head, I am thinking I did my best while I try to fix the shape of the attached part 10. I had trouble finding one of these slots here. Turns out a couple of the slots were completely covered up. This tab comes out right next to the long part. I had to bend it over. And that ends the first page, or actually page 2. And that brings us to the end of part 1 of this build. Did not expect to have to split this model into several parts, especially not 3 parts, what it looks like I'm going to do. Part 1, as you just saw, we've covered all the way up to the end of page 2. Part 2, we will cover page 3 and 4, and part 3, we will cover the rest of it from 5 all the way to 8, because those are bigger body panels coming together, and that goes a little bit quicker. So if it's not out already, parts 2 and 3 will be available soon, so keep an eye out for that, and I will see you there.